On June 8, 2020, Yasir Qadhi's interview shook the world of Western Islam. What happened and why does it matter? First, some background. What do Muslims believe about the Quran? There are three basic understandings. First, the Sunday school narrative. The average poorly informed Muslim believes there is one perfect Quran and they don't know anything about the qira'at or different readings. Second, there is the standard narrative. Most Muslim leaders and many more informed Muslims know about the 7 qira'at or different readings of the Quran. They call the Quran a multi-form text and believe it is perfectly preserved as one. Finally, there is the scholar's dilemma narrative. Throughout history, Muslim leaders have debated different interpretations of this standard narrative because Muslim sources presented problems. One such problem is in Shadi Nasser's book that suggests that some qira'at were chosen based on popularity. However, these debates are kept in Islam's closet, away from the average Muslim. This is a story of how one Muslim leader was forced to open Islam's closet to average Muslims, and how the world is responding. Enter Yasir Qadhi. He is a famous American Muslim leader in conservative Western Islam. He has almost 1 million Facebook followers, as young Muslims are attracted to his down-to-earth style and relatively conservative teachings. He was raised in America but went to the University of Medina in Saudi Arabia, a conservative Islamic school. Then he attended Yale University and was introduced to Western scholarly criticism. Over time, his views became more moderate. Recently, conservative Muslims like Imran or Dawa Man have criticized YQ's moderating views. In 2016, Yasir Qadhi was discussing the Quran's preservation with other Muslim scholars and students over email. Imran could not refute YQ, but he strongly disagreed, so he leaked the emails online.
One evil was that we were going to put out private emails, but we also had another shar, which was that if we don't address this issue right now, this man is going to bring it out. You see, to understand the context, you really have to understand who Yasir Qadhi is. Alhamdulillah. But I'm saying if he was to release that and we was to give him time to build the people up and put that out there, it would have been a lot worse. It would have been a lot worse. So we said, look, to preempt his move, instead of being reactionary, just to let the people know, you got, because you see, it's against the fitrah to say the Quran's not been preserved. It's almost heresy. I mean, it is heresy.
After YQ got more criticism, Muhammad Hijab invited him to his webcast to explain himself. In the bombshell interview, YQ taught us 3 big lessons.
And it's very clear to you and to every single very advanced student and specialist that the standard narrative has holes in it. That's what I'm going to say.
First, Islam's closet is full of unanswered questions. Muslim leaders keep the closet closed so average Muslims don't have doubts.
So the issues of the relationship, of the origins, of the ikhtilaf and all of this should only be discussed amongst those who are familiar with this science.
Second, the Western scholars are publicly asking these questions. The internet is spreading these questions to average Muslims.
More and more professors and academics are writing stuff and it's being publicized on Twitter in the last 2-3 years. I have had at least, I'd say, 12 people tweet at me like specific articles like, how do you answer this? And, about ulum al-Quran, about qira'at, about makhtutat, about issues. Our ulama in the Eastern world are not aware, by and large, of what's going on in the Western side of things. And they're not answering those questions.
Finally, the standard narrative of Quran preservation has holes in it.
Now, for the first time, I'm telling you here, what was the crisis? I mentioned it, referenced it, but I never explicitly said it. Why didn't I say it? Because it should not be said in public. But unfortunately, these brothers, because they released the emails, so then I have to then get it. This was the issue. That the issue of ahruf and preservation and qira'at and relationships between them, these are very, very difficult issues. And the most advanced of our scholars, they're not quite fully certain how to solve all of the unanswered questions in there. We have a group that is discussing amongst itself these issues, and alhamdulillah, one of them, I'll just mention this, that the Yaqeen paper on Qira'at, is one of our group members as well. And you can log on to Yaqeen and he has a paper on Qira'at and whatnot. And that's one interpretation that does a great service, but it doesn't answer all the questions. My point being that this issue of Ahruf and Qira'at has troubled the Ummah from the very beginning of times, nothing new. And there are 15 opinions about this. None of them fully answer all of the questions that are raised. Some of them answer more than others in a manner that it needs to be answered. And this is something all of us that are in academia fully acknowledge.
Christian critics argue that Muslim leaders have been lying to average Muslims by keeping the holes in the closet.
For you Muslims who believed your apologists when they told you that the Quran has been perfectly preserved right down to the letter from the time it was revealed to Muhammad, and that there are no variants anywhere in the manuscript tradition of the Quran, now's a good time to start wondering why your apologists lied to you.
Quran scholars saw their Twitter feeds blow up. Dr. Dan Brubaker started his YouTube channel, Variant Quran, that highlights corrections in early Quran manuscripts.
So two people, at least, possibly one of them, made a mistake by omitting something.
Secular critics shared more unanswered questions about the Quran. ViduVids made a video satirizing the interview. There are three main camps of Muslim responses. 1. YQ is being misrepresented, although he should have been more clear. 2. YQ is being deviant and we need to expose him. 3. YQ is right, and we need to revise the standard narrative. Adnan Rashid is in the first camp. Rashid said that YQ's word choice was unclear. He explained away the holes through arguments about chains of transmission going back to Muhammad, memorization of the Quran, and the Qira'at that Muslims have long acknowledged.
Yes, we have the exact physical copies of the Quran from the life of the Prophet.
This camp says YQ's words are being twisted. He believes in perfect preservation and has done much good for the Ummah. Leave him alone. Fareed responds Daniel Hakekachu and Dawa Man are in the second camp. They see YQ's comments as clear and dangerous to the Ummah. This camp says YQ has been on this slide to deviance for a long time. We need to stop blindly following popular leaders. We need to call it out. Muhammad Hijab tried to accommodate both YQ and the conservatives. However, his followers complained that the interview was irresponsible, spreading doubts. Hijab later deleted the last 30 minutes of the interview from his channel. Mufti Laith is in the third camp. He hosted Shazad Salim to explain his revised narrative and how it addresses the holes.
And then he's like, oh my God, I've got so much hate now, I've got so much hate. And because now the public are either going to force him to pretend he doesn't believe in in his problems and pretend that there's no problems that he sees, or he's going to have to own his truth and become further disowned. And it's chickens coming home to roost.
How did YQ respond? First, he clarified that he believes in perfect preservation, even though Islamophobes are using his words. He said Dr. Brubaker doesn't even know Arabic. He is working on a paper that will allegedly shatter the arguments that the enemies of Islam are making. On July 25th, Yasir Qadhi posted his most comprehensive statement yet. First, he made clear that he's a conservative. Then he wrote, I have certain views of Ahruf/Qira'at that many traditional scholars and even modern scholars agree with. He said the standard narrative is, quote, oversimplified and extrapolates too many generalities. He is working on a revised narrative to address these holes. He pointed to a recent interview with Dr. Akram Nadwi to suggest other scholars have similar views. Regardless of their stance on this issue, Muslims should join together to fight the true enemy, the Islamophobes. However, Fareed was not satisfied. YQ is not being misinterpreted, he argued. He is being interpreted just fine. He showed how non-Muslims were using YQ's comments to attack Islam. This comment on Fareed's video summarizes the criticisms well. Fareed and Dawa Man believe YQ is using the fallacy of equivocation. He is using the right words but giving them different meanings. Perfect preservation means something different to YQ. They want to expose him and protect the Ummah. Right now we're seeing Islam's closet crack open. Average Muslims are seeing the unanswered questions online. Conservative Muslims are trying to use the standard narrative to explain away YQ's comments, and the holes. This has been Islamic Clarity, and we'll keep you posted on what happens next.